hosting this important hearing, and to all of our witnesses for participating today. Parents have a God-given natural right to know what their children are being taught in school. Quite simply, parents know best, and they shouldn't be the last to know. Unfortunately, many schools continue to break the law by dodging disclosure and consent requirements under FERPA. According to Parents Defending Education, over 1,200 school districts openly state that district personnel can and should keep a student's transgender status hidden from the parents. In my home state of Illinois, there are at least 20 school districts with guidance that specifically instructs faculty to withhold this type of information from parents. Not surprisingly, Democrats want to take away parental rights. For example, when parents voiced concerns about what their children were being taught during the pandemic, Joe Biden's Department of Justice labeled them domestic terrorists. I call that promoting a divisive culture. In July of this year, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a bill mandating so-called mental health screenings in public schools. The law only allows parents to opt their children out by navigating an undefined, ambiguous process. Lastly, numerous universities across Illinois, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin abused a FERPA loophole during the 2024 election by sharing students' protected data with the left-leaning voter registration organization called All In Campus Democracy Challenge. My first question is to Mr. Sharp. In your written testimony, you mentioned numerous examples of how school districts across the nation have violated FERPA. How, if at all, are they being held accountable under these laws?
Thank you. As we've heard, for many years, these complaints that parents were filing with the Department of Education were going unanswered, ignored. In fact, in March of this year, Secretary McMahon sent a letter to school districts saying that there was a backlog of complaints and that parents were being forced to sit and wait on the federal government to take action to protect their rights. That's not okay. We're very encouraged to see this administration taking on the mantle and saying we are going to vigorously enforce FERPA and PPRA violations. But I think it's also an opportunity for this committee and Congress to look of whether there are other remedies that ought to be available, other opportunities, including giving parents themselves the ability to hold school officials accountable when their rights are violated.
Absolutely. My next question is to Mrs. Powell. You mentioned in your written testimony that California schools are dodging the Supreme Court's Mahmoud ruling. How can we hold them accountable to ensure parental rights are protected?
Yeah, for those who don't know, Mahmoud v. Taylor was a Supreme Court decision from June that reaffirmed parents' right to guide the religious development of their children and the right to opt out of instruction that interfered with their religious development. In that case, it was LGBTQ books for kindergartners. It doesn't just apply to LGBTQ books. It could apply to any kinds of issues. But in California, what they're doing is they're burdening parents with figuring out what aspects of the curriculum they might find offensive, and yet it's very difficult to get access to that curriculum. The Mahmoud case actually had a requirement that parents be notified of these kinds of materials. So I would like to see schools in California take that requirement seriously and also stop dragging their feet when parents inquire about curriculum.
Thank you. My next question is to Mrs. Figlia. In your written testimony, you describe instances in which Harrisonburg City Public Schools directed faculty to violate federal law and withhold a child's gender transition from their parents. Why do you think the district adopted this policy, and why create such a blanketed district-wide policy?
I don't know why they would think that this was a good policy, personally, but I do think that they think they know best. And I can recall in my own teacher training decades ago, I was taught exactly that. Parents don't really know the best for kids. We as educators know best. And that didn't sit right with me then, and it still doesn't sit right with me.
That's most unfortunate. I can tell you that this administration and all of us on this side are here to protect parental rights. Mr. Sharp, while I have you here, are you aware of universities abusing FERPA, specifically the instances in which they allowed student data to be released to voter registration organizations?
Thank you. I've not tracked that issue, but I think we can all be very concerned when students' information is being released, whether for young children without their parents' consent or students at the collegiate level as well.
Absolutely, and I hope that issue moves forward and we can find a solution for that. Thank you. And I yield back.